At this point, I would like to draw an analogy between the Muslim world and Israel and between the Americas and Asians. Now, this is going to be a little complicated, so please bear with me. Since we live in a nation where the majority of the people believe in the Bible, we usually support Israel's point of view more than the Palestinian point of view. So I'd like you for a moment to put yourself in the Palestinian/Arab/Muslim shoes for a moment so I can set the stage for my next example. Let's say you're a Palestinian/Arab/Muslim living in the Middle East at the end of World War II. The Germans just spent the last few years trying to wipe out the entire Jewish population to the tune of millions of innocent people. So white Europeans, people coming from a historically Judeo-Christian biblical point of view, decide that Jewish people need a homeland. But instead of giving them part of Germany, the very people who committed the atrocities to the Jewish people, they decide to give the Jews the land they controlled 2,000 years ago. The problem is, there are already people living there. So the historically white European Christians, and Americans, of course, simply decreed that although Israel hasn't existed for 2,000 years, they're going to return the land of Israel to the Jewish people and recreate it. Now here you are. As a Palestinian, isn't it going to piss you off that all these outsiders are going to bring a nation back into existence that hasn't existed for 2,000 years, and it's going to be on your property? Wouldn't you be wondering why you're being punished for something that white Christian Germans did? Wouldn't you be wondering what the hell the people in Palestine had to do with what happened in Germany? I know I would. My point being that if I were in their shoes, I would feel the same way they do. I wouldn't like it done to me, so why do I think they would like it done to them? So here's the rest of my analogy. Through the study of DNA, we know for a fact that Native Americans are of Asian descent. We know that over tens of thousands of years ago, they came across the Alaskan ice bridge from Asia to America and colonized the new land. And then roughly 500 years ago, Europeans showed up and forcibly took the land from them. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not making any moral judgments. I'm just stating an indisputable historical fact. Anyway, let's say 100 years from today, the United States is no longer the world's only superpower, but China is. And Native Americans go to China and say, listen, we want our land back. The entire world knows that Asians were the first to colonize America, that the people of Asia, of Asian descent, were in America at least 10,000 years before the Europeans, and that they stole their land from us. If people of white European ancestry can go back 2,000 years and recreate Israel for the Jews, why can't China, Asians, go back 200 years and give us the land of our forefathers? If it was moral for white Europeans to do it for Jews, then it's moral for Asians to do it for the native tribes of North America. In fact, it's moral for them to do it for the native people of Central America and South America as well. Now, I'm not saying I believe this would be the moral thing to do. I'm just saying that the same logic can be used to recreate, that was used to recreate Israel, can be used by Asians to recreate the Cherokee Nation, the Sioux Nation, the Iroquois Nation, the Aztecs, Incas, Mayas, etc. If it's moral to go back 2,000 years in order to right a wrong, then it's certainly moral to go back 200 years in order to right a wrong. Do I think it should be done? Of course not. I'm just trying to show why people in the Middle East are so angry at America, Europe, Christians, and Jews. They see what happened as an injustice, just like you would see the Chinese giving America back to its former native population as an injustice. Would you be pissed off if the Chinese gave America back to the Indians? Of course you would. So why do you think the Palestinians would feel any differently? So let's quit supporting one group of religious fundamentalist zealots over another. And remember, both sides are full of religious zealots. If you don't believe me, simply do some research on the era and find out who was committing terrorist attacks and blowing up innocent people before Israel was reestablished in 1948. You can start with the history of the King David Hotel. The United States is over $13 trillion in debt. That's nearly $120,000 per taxpayer. And our unfunded liabilities, such as Social Security and Medicare, are roughly $110 trillion. Our government is destroying this country. It's time we tell them to stop trying to save the world and once again put America first. And on this point, I'm not just talking about Israel, but nearly all foreign aid. It's time the American people stand up and demand their government take a big chunk of the world off welfare. And one last thing. We have no right to mortgage our children's future and to turn them into beasts of burden for the choices we make, even if they're for a good cause. If you're interested in these ideas, many of them can be found in my new book, The Common Sense Ethics of a Blue-Collar Philosopher by S.G. Applebee. Thanks for your time.